today is forecasting November inflation to come in at 1.8%, higher than our Business World median estimate of 1.6%. He's also expecting fourth quarter GDP to come in at 4.25%, higher than third quarter's 4%. Well, with us now for more is Emmanuel Leyco, President and Chief Economist at Credit Rating and Investors Services Philippines, Inc. Good seeing you again, Noel. Welcome back to the program.
Thank you. Great to be back.
Okay, so when you've got the DEPDev secretary saying that we won't even meet the lower end of our growth forecast for the full year, what does that mean then for the fourth quarter? And how deep a cut will it be for the forecast range for the full year?
I think it was bold enough for the secretary to admit that we are not going to make the forecast for this year, considering that it was already downgraded. We've been targeting 7%, especially after the pandemic. We adjusted that lower, and still we couldn't make it. So for the secretary to say that even that we will not make, that is quite disturbing. So we said that the last quarter, probably, after hitting bottom 4%, we'll probably pick up a little bit due to stronger consumer spending. Remember, last quarter, even the consumers held back on their spending. They spent less on housing, they spent less on clothing, they spent less on food, and I think many of our retailers would have seen that. And that they would have calculated.
And to what would you attribute that loss of confidence? Is it because of the lack of consumer trust? And how does that relate to the backdrop in which we're heading into the Christmas season, where there's typically a lot more spending, but as you're saying that there might be some holding back?
The loss of confidence in the political leadership in the country is a major factor. If we are looking at investing in a company, we look at management. And if we see management as not up to the job, people will be holding back. You will not invest in a company that you are not exactly confident about the leadership in that company. So in the Philippines, it's not just the investors, it's even the consumers. So the consumers are holding back. They want to put aside something that they can use when the situation gets worse. So people are anticipating worse to come before it gets better.
Worse to come. So what sort of figures then are we looking at for 2026 to 2028? Because the DBCC is going to review their forecast, not only for this year, but for the next 2-3 years.
Well, definitely it's not going to hit 5.5%. It's probably 5 and 5.25%, which is low. And I think unless something is done to patch the holes in our fiscal management, nothing is going to be, nothing can be expected to happen in a positive way.
Well, Sec RC said we're still middle of the pack if we stay at 5%.
Well, I don't want to compare the Philippines with our neighbors.
But we used to be compared all the time. We're like the second fastest, one of the fastest in the region. I mean, has that all been lost, do you think?
Yes, considering that we hit bottom, the lowest in the region, of course, we can only expect the Philippines to get higher. So if the baseline was low, I think you can expect that the Philippines, when it gets a little better, it would do a little, so much better in terms of numbers. But when it comes to where we came from, especially during the pandemic, actually we were hoping that the minimum of 7% was less optimistic. And realistically, we were hoping that we will hit 10% double digit because we lost so much during the pandemic. But now that is all gone. So I think right now we're looking at the Philippines at a totally different level now. We have to be realistic. Is the Philippines up to it? There's widespread lack of confidence politically, economically. So I'm hoping that the new year will be met with dramatic, decisive action from the government.
What does that mean for an investor wanting in, or at least is invested in the Philippines? What sort of dramatic action?
Well, when they say corruption is a major impediment to our development, there must be a decisive action to address corruption. What does that mean? Those who have been identified as the ones stealing money from the government coffers should be put in jail. And that is not supposed to mean that we just put anybody in jail. No, we really need to have honest to goodness investigation and let the people know what's happening and come up with hard evidence, airtight case against these people, and make sure that the money that was stolen from our coffers can be brought back. Definitely there has to be restitution, there has to be recovery, and definitely there has to be prosecution.
You spoke of fiscal holes that needed to be fixed. What exactly?
Well, right now we're talking about the budget. I think the last time I guessed it here, we were talking about a lot of optimism about this new budget, considering that opinion about the previous year's budget was it was the most corrupt. It was the most off-tangent budget. So we were hoping that we have learned. Unfortunately, right now, we're still looking at more than 600 billion pesos in unprogrammed funding. And that means that the budget is still very vulnerable to the same corruption practices that we saw during this budget.
Could we be facing a reenacted budget then for 2026?
Oh, that would be terrible if we...
Is it possible?
Yes, it is, because right now the Senate, Congress has not come to any closer to passing a budget. They're now working double time, and having fire at the Senate doesn't help. So people are now asking, what else did they lose from that fire? And how can they now catch up with the budget schedule? Right now, I hope that people in the Senate, in Congress, are able to catch up double time and make sure that the holes in our budget are eliminated.
We got about a minute, Noel. The only lever, it seems, is monetary policy. If you're not thinking that inflation might go higher than forecast, how many cuts will it take to right up the economy from the Bangko Sentral?
Well, Bangko Sentral is kind of put in a corner. If Bangko Sentral does not reduce interest rates, people will be asking, inflation is so much in control, 1.7, 1.8, less than 2%. That is great. And therefore, what are you waiting for in terms of reducing interest rate in the country? However,
you want them to cut intermeeting before the December 10 meeting?
Well, I would like them to cut interest rate. However, the other challenge is that the peso is not doing good. And cutting interest rates is not going to help the Philippine peso. So this is it's like walking a tightrope for the Bangko Sentral. You want to defend the value of the peso, but at the same time, you have to send a message to the Philippine economy that inflation is under control and therefore we can ease up on our interest rate.
I meant December 11th. So it's a 25 bips of a rate cut on December 11th and a follow-through perhaps in the coming months. Is that right?
Yes.
But you did make a mention of the concern on the peso. We've hit 59.17 to the dollar, the lowest in history. Could there be a risk that we hit 60?
Oh, yes, definitely. Hitting 59 already, if we reduce interest rate, 59 can be even worse compared to the dollar. The dollar is, believe it or not, doing much better compared to expectations.
Just a final point. As you mentioned, peso 60, it's probable and possible. What happens then to inflation? Will that be the key problem for 2026?
2026, I think it will be pushing inflation too far. We were able to manage inflation now, but given the weaknesses that we are seeing in our economy, import, export, our trade performance is not doing so well. I think the inflation will be at risk. We might hit over 2% next year, which is still not bad. However, if we say 2% and below, that is very good for the Philippine economy. But if we breach 2%, that will be considered as a weakness again of our economy.
Well, thank you for your insights. Appreciate
Thank you.
very
Thank
much.
you.
Hopefully there will be better silver linings in the
I
night.
hope so. I hope so.